Hello poker players, today we're going to dissect a hand featuring LSG Hank and Doug Polk. Let's start with the pre-flop action.
Nick, go ahead.
A lot, big ante.
Play big ante a lot.
Yeah.
How rich?
Obviously,
How
I'm
rich?
pushing a lot for big ante online and live.
It's way better. It's more fun.
Punishes the nits and business and VIPs aren't playing out of position. That's
The
where
most aggressive guy just picked up the number
Nobody's
one,
lost out of position.
Right.
With the Rex, yeah.
and Hank has a very strong hand himself.
Killer for non-pro.
Ace Jack suited is just doing poorly against this one hand.
The pre-flop action is rather simple. Tom Dwan limps in, a decision likely influenced by the 3 big blind ante, which offers better pot odds for limping. LSG Hank then raises to 6 big blinds with Ace Jack of diamonds, a solid move, and finally Doug Polk from the small blind, 3 bets with aces. Hank calls. To play pre-flop is straightforward, so let's see a flop.
I just like to feel that Hank.
65,000 in the middle. Whatever sizing Doug chooses is the right sizing.
23.
People don't realise.
A little more than 1/3 pot. And that's going to bring Hank in.
The flop play remains straightforward. Doug Polk bets 33% of the pot, which functions well as a thick value bet with aces. He might also be employing a range bet strategy here. Hank, with a decent ace high and a backdoor flush draw in position, makes a reasonable call. Let's see the turn.
Draw.
Playing out of position. Obviously, Rico's still going to lose, right?
And he now has the nut flush draw. 111,000 in the middle. Guess how much Doug will bet. It's like a little poker test you can take. See how close you are. I'm going to say 75. 81. All right. Hank puts in the call.
Turn play continues to be solid. Polk, with an overpair, makes another value bet that many weaker hands could call. Hank, having turned a nut flush draw, has a clear call in position. Let's get to the river.
Not be the queen or 3 of diamonds. Hank puts in the call. He needs a diamond. Instead, it's the 9 of hearts. He's going huge. 200,000. This would be beautiful poker.
All in.
All in.
All in, says Hank.
Doug triple barrels for value, which makes sense since he can bet and get called by Hank's top pair region of hands like Ace Queen and King Queen. LSG must stand for legendary sack of gonads since Hank thinks about it for a bit before ripping it all in for a $1 million bluff. I really like this bluff. Hank is playing against an experienced regular, and I think this player type's tendencies will generally cause this bluff to be more effective than it should be. A regular will recognize that there are numerous value combos that realistically could take this line, like flopped and turned sets, and also river 2 pair, which are disincentivized from fast playing on earlier streets since Hank is in position. Secondly, this is generally a very underbluffed line since Hank has called twice before raising and the pot is enormous. Thus, this bluff will achieve sufficient or more fold equity than it needs. Some context on Doug before we get into his decision. He's a proponent of an increasingly outdated game theory optimal school of thought, where unexploitability and perfect adherence to solver programs takes precedence over any real-world inputs about how we think our opponents are actually playing. I think the flaws of this approach are well illustrated by Doug's table talk as he decides. First, Doug admits that Hank is an unknown player to him. However, instead of drawing on his knowledge of how poker players generally play the spot, he assumes that the lack of information means that he must retreat into GTO and assume that Hank has a perfectly balanced jamming range. I strongly believe this spot is underbluffed generally, which means that if we don't know anything about a player, we should assume that we should fold all bluff catchers like pocket aces against this line. Secondly, Doug says that he needs to occasionally put it in and call 1 out of 4 times, or randomize his decision. One of the most common misunderstandings of GTO is that whenever one mixes between actions, that implies that the expected value of either action is exactly the same. So, Doug is implying that calling or folding here results in the same outcome. For that to be true, Hank must be jamming a perfectly balanced range of value combos and bluffs, which is highly unlikely. Furthermore, if Doug thinks that the expected value of either action is the same in theory against a perfectly balanced range, it doesn't matter which action he takes. That means we can guess that Hank is underbluffing and fold while still taking a GTO approved action. Another way of thinking about it is, worst case scenario, Hank is playing a perfectly balanced and folding doesn't earn us any profit. But best case scenario, we saved a ton of money by folding against a bluffless range. Let's see what Doug eventually ends up doing.
Definitely better to not have a diamond,
I can never turn it off.
because that means Hank could have missed diamonds.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to 1 out of 4 times. I'm gonna call.
Okay.
Wow.
So I got a heart and a spade. I'm gonna mix them up. If it's ace of hearts twice in a row, I call. Otherwise, I fold.
This is amazing.
Fold.
Show him.
Fuck! Fuck! Oh my fucking
Hank,
God.
instant legend.
Sometimes folds look heroic since they involve pocket aces, but after critical analysis, we can see that these folds are very reasonable. I encourage you to break free of the shackles of GTO to make logical decisions that actually affect your win rate. If you made it this far, you might be interested in personal coaching. You can check out criticalpoker.com for more details, or contact me directly at info@criticalpoker.com, or direct message me at MNW on Discord. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep honing your poker skills.